The more people,
Okay, now we're good.
okay, the more people who can learn about cat behavior, the better for all involved. So, I will start off by saying that as a certified cat behaviorist, the most common question I always get regarding me personally is, why do you spend so much time helping cats? People always ask, why don't you dedicate your life to helping people? Why are you always helping cats? But the truth is, whenever you help cats, you are also always helping people. People tend to assume that if a cat has a behavior problem, the problem must be with the cat. Most of the time, this simply is not true. Many of these cats are not difficult, and they don't really have behavior problems at all. The fact is, oftentimes their humans have problems, and this creates problems for the cats. Whenever a human being has a serious problem, such as illness, bereavement, job loss, divorce, a pandemic, you will always find a cat suffering at the end of it. So you never really help a cat without also helping a person. Now, don't get me wrong. I get a lot of people whose cats won't use a litter box, whose cats scratch on everything except for that beautiful scratching post that you bought for them. And what should you do when you bring home a companion for Fluffy? And as it turns out, Fluffy didn't want a new brother or sister all that much. But I also help people in distress. For example, a woman contacted me recently to say that she would have to surrender her cat. She started off our conversation by telling me she was sure there was nothing that I could possibly do to help her. She had cancer and several small children. She was terrified, exhausted, and overwhelmed. Amidst all of this, she had an older cat, and she was feeling bad because she couldn't give the cat enough attention. This woman and I talked for a very long time. I listened to her describe her situation. Eventually, I said, "Your children are stressed because you're sick, but they are going to feel even more stressed by losing the family cat at the same time." I also reminded her that cats are fundamentally loyal, caring, and incredibly perceptive animals, something probably a lot of you already know. So if her cat didn't get the same amount of attention for a period of time because she was getting treated for cancer, well, that's okay. That cat is part of the family. And I explained to her that the cat would surely prefer to give up some attention temporarily rather than to be separated from her family permanently. Sometimes people just need to be reassured. By then, the woman was crying. She said to me, "Do you really think it would be okay for me to keep my cat?" What I learned in this situation was that the woman really didn't want to give up her cat at all. She wanted to do the right thing. She just wasn't sure what that was. In the end, she kept her cat, and I promised my help and support. This is what I do every day as a cat behaviorist. Work to solve cat behavior problems or perceived problems between the owner and the cat, so people do not have to sacrifice the cats who they love. Now, I do a lot of cat behavior counsels. Between 900 and 1,000 cases every year. And I do them all completely free of charge. It's my personal mission in life that there never be a financial barrier preventing people from keeping their cats in their homes. But when you do that much work with that many cats and that many people, you start to notice some patterns. So I'd like to take this opportunity to highlight some interesting things that a lot of people think. So first, cats do not act out of revenge or spite with their pee or poop. Cats don't pee out of the litter box to send us messages. "Oh, I hear tales of woe. She peed on my bed to teach me a lesson. She peed on the laundry because she was mad at me. She peed on my luggage because I went away on vacation. She peed on my shoes because she doesn't like my new boyfriend." Well, maybe that one could be true. Cats are very good judges of character. But in all seriousness, I want everyone to know that cats don't pee inappropriately out of spite or revenge. I understand that it's easy to assign human qualities to cats because they really do share so many of our emotions. But spite and revenge are qualities we humans can proudly call our very own. Cats are fastidious creatures. If they are not using the litter box, it's because something or someone in their minds is preventing that cat from using the litter box. So we need to use a little bit of detective work and figure that out. Okay, second, that big basket of toys you have sitting in your living room, you know what I'm talking about. You have that big straw basket or big bucket of all of those fuzzy mice. That is not what I mean when I say play with your cat. Throwing a bunch of solo toys on the floor is not play. With solo toys, the cat has to be both the predator and the prey. And this isn't very realistic to your cat. So many times people say to me, oh, my cat doesn't play. My cat doesn't like to play. But the problem often is we don't take the time to play with our cats properly and to really trigger that prey drive. So to properly play with your cat, you want to play with a fishing pole type toy. And you want to do this twice a day for a good 10 to 15 minutes each time. And keep in mind when you're doing this, that play is supposed to simulate a hunt. So keep in mind that idea. This play is supposed to resemble a hunt. So for your cat, the most important part of the game is the capture. It's the captures that release all those feel-good chemicals. It's the captures that make the cat feel good. So many people think that the point of the game is how long you can keep the toy away from the cat. But the truth is, during the game, you want to let your cat have multiple captures. Your cat will feel empowered and happy with that physical, tangible success that comes from watching, stalking, pouncing, and ultimately catching. The capturing is the rewarding and satisfying part for your cat. So when you're playing with your cat, stay with the game for a while. Intersperse the chasing and pouncing with plenty of captures. Finish the game with one last final successful capture. Now, to make it a perfect play experience, give your cat a little treat that simulates feasting after the hunt and the capture. When you follow the capture with a little treat, your cat's brain is going to release all of those feel-good, happy, contentment chemicals. And now your cat's going to feel like queen of her territory or king of his castle. And that's what we want. That's the whole point of play. So going from that, let's talk about laser pointers. I really wish pet supply stores did not sell laser pointers as toys for cats. They were developed to be used for PowerPoint presentations in the office, and that is where they should stay. Laser pointers are actually the cause of so many behavior problems in cats. Think about it. Your poor cat is on a futile chase, pointlessly trying to catch that little red dot that can never be captured. Certain of a sure catch, your cat pounces, only to find there is nothing there between his paws or between his teeth. It's not a really good thing to do to your cat. Laser pointers can actually create frustration and anxiety in cats. And this is the exact opposite of what we want to do when we play with our cats. Also, note this. The laser pointers can create problems between companion cats. The laser pointer is going to make that cat want to get that capture somewhere. So if the cat can't get it during play because you're using a laser pointer, that cat might try to find a way to capture in other ways that may not be acceptable to the companion cat, like pouncing and stalking and chasing that other cat in the household. Cats expect a catch and kill after play. So a cat who's teased with a laser pointer may try to attack, bite, or scratch a companion cat, or even the humans in the household. The laser pointer just doesn't provide that physical and tangible catch after stimulation. And cats need this. Cats are natural born hunters. So don't play this unwinnable game with your cat. Toss the laser pointer and play safe, play smart, play in a way that's satisfying to your cat, and use a fishing pole type toy. The best thing about the fishing pole type toy is you're part of the game. So it actually creates a very strong cat-human bond. I'm a big fan of the fishing pole type toy. So try that with your cat. I think you're going to see a big difference in your cat. Okay, last. Cats do not want privacy when they use the litter boxes. Now, I know a lot of people, humans, we like covered litter boxes, or a lot of people do, because from a human perspective, they may provide privacy. And we're thinking, well, we want privacy when we go to the bathroom. I don't really want to be going to the bathroom exposed to everybody. So we think our cats want the same thing. But we're placing a human need onto our cats. Cats want the opposite. Cats want to have a clear visual field all around them when they're using their box. Cats feel very vulnerable when they're in their litter boxes, and they want to be able to see all around them so that they have ample opportunity to escape, and they feel safe knowing what is around them. So a covered litter box completely reduces the cat's visual field around the box. It's really important to know that your cat wants to see all the way around her, so she knows that she can escape if an opponent or an invader appears. Now, these opponents or invaders can be real or imagined. You may have an only cat, you may have two cats that really get along well, but these opponents or invaders can also be imagined in the cat's mind. It's a cat's instinct that she wants to see all the way around when she's in that litter box. Now with a covered box, your cat can't see around her, and worse, should there be an invader or should she imagine there is an invader, the only means of escape is right into that invader's face. So covered litter boxes can really make the cat nervous about using the box, and it's a very common cause of litter box aversion. So always think about ample visual warning time in terms of escape, and always think about clear, clean sight lines all around that box. So how did I get here? How did I create a career out of advising people about cat behavior and litter box problems and scratching? So I guess like a lot of things, I can blame my parents. So my parents' view on pets, cats or otherwise, could not have been more different. My father grew up in Dorchester, Massachusetts, and he grew up in a small, crowded apartment that his immediate family shared with his extended family. The apartment did not allow pets, not that there was room, and they were poor. They were barely able to feed themselves. On the other hand, my mother grew up in a single family home that was large and lots of space, and they had many pets, and pets were part of the family. Later in their marriage, my parents were forced to strike a bit of a compromise about pets in our home when their firstborn, me, seemed to have discovered an endless parade of cats in the neighborhood who really needed me and who somehow ended up at our house. And as I was bringing all of these cats home, my father was very clear that if I'm going to have cats, that I needed to be responsible for these cats' well-being and to take care of these cats. And I remember clear as day, it could have happened yesterday. I was a little girl, maybe 8 years old, and I was sitting at the table having breakfast. And I'm eating my cereal. My dad comes down the stairs and he said, "Oh, I see you're eating breakfast. Have you fed the cats yet?" And I said, "Oh, I will, Dad, as soon as I'm done eating." And he made me stop and he said, "No, you need to always feed your cats before you feed yourself. They're dependent on you. And the right thing to do is make sure that your cats who are vulnerable and dependent on you, that they eat first and they're all set before you eat." And so I remember that lesson to this day, that, I should really always take care of my pets, my cats, and be a good steward for them, because they are 100% dependent on me. And before I'm enjoying my meal, I should make sure that they have met their needs. And so it was a very early lesson that I received as a little kid. I deeply love these cats and mourned their loss when one died. And at some point, I can remember I began to memorize the names and faces of all of the cats who had lived, loved, and then died at our house. And one day I asked my dad, who I should mention was a rabbi, whether all of those cats would meet me in heaven and whether they would recognize me and I them. He assured me that they would, that the cats would remember me and that I would remember them forever. Thinking back now, the lesson I learned wasn't so much about the cats, but it was about my father's assurances that relationships with our cats last, that our relationships with our companion cats have meaning. Our relationships with our cats are enduring, that they are important. And to me, that meant that they are worth saving. So thank you tonight for having me. And as Eric said, 100% of the proceeds from my book will go to a no-kill cat shelter. I donate 100% of the proceeds from any book sales all the time, and I rotate cat shelters to donate to. So if you'd like to buy the book and learn more about cat behavior, you'll also be saving cats at the same time. So my name is Rachel Geller. I'm a certified cat behaviorist, and I'm ready to take your cat behavior questions now. Thank you.
Thank you. So we already have our first question, but please just keep, writing them on in, and I'll just get to them. If there's kind of duplicates, I'll sort through. But our first one is, I recently got an outdoor cat that will be an indoor cat. How can I help her to adjust?
I love this question because I'll be honest, I have very strong opinions about keeping your cats indoors. So I'm glad that you're going to have your cat stay inside. Now, I want to start off by saying that it's kind of a myth that cats love being outdoors. Actually, there is a lot of stress and anxiety when a cat goes outside. When cats go out, they have a need to stand their ground, to monitor the situation, to claim their territory, to constantly see which cats out there who might be rougher and tougher than they are going to want to go on their territory. And the outdoors is filled with the unknown. Whether or not your cat is confident, most cats don't like the unknown, and the outdoors is filled with the unknown. So cats are happier mentally, they're safer, and they're much better off being outside. It reduces a major stress for a cat. Now, having said that, the thing that people note about a cat being outside is there was a lot of stimulation. But you can replicate that stimulation in your home, even in a small apartment, very easily. So the first thing I recommend is, as I mentioned in my beginning talk, is to engage in your cat daily with interactive play using a fishing pole type toy. When you do this, your cat's going to get that opportunity to hunt in a meaningful and successful way, and that will replicate what the cat might have done outside. But I know you can't always be playing with your cat 24/7. So I also want to recommend something called a puzzle feeder. A puzzle feeder is a particular type of interactive activity toy then when it's manipulated in a certain way or moved about in a certain way, a treat will be doled out. But it involves the cat having to stalk and pounce and accomplish some type of a task. So it's mentally challenging, and it's replicates hunting, because the cat just doesn't get the food. He has to do something to get the food. So interactive play with a fishing pole type toy, maybe one session in the morning, one session in the evening. Puzzle feeders, so the cat can hunt and capture when you're not around. Interactive activity toys are great as well. Some cat grass, catnip. You can even take, if you tend to leave dry food out for your cat to graze on, you can take the dry food, put a little bit into several small bowls, hide the bowls about your home, so the cat has to go on a fun indoor journey to find his food. He can have a little fun expedition instead of just having the food given to him. So that's a good idea too. The last thing is vertical space. We look at our world horizontally. We think about navigating space horizontally, right? Our chairs are on the floor, the refrigerator's on the floor, the desks are on the floor. Your cat looks at her world vertically. So you can actually trick your cat into thinking she is navigating great journeys away from home with vertical space. Cat trees and window perches are great. Those are terrific. But if you don't have a lot of space, or you don't want to spend a lot of money, look around about your rooms. Chances are you have some shelving space that is going unused, and that can be repurposed for vertical space. Tops of bureaus, backs of sofas, tops of storage containers, all of these can be transformed into vertical space with a nice cozy quilt or a blanket folded over. So the more vertical space you can give your cat, the better. The cat's going to enjoy being up high, enjoy feeling like she's going on a journey. So that's another terrific way to transfer your cat from being an outdoor cat to an indoor cat. And if you want more on this is kind of the bullet point version, you can always go to my website, drrachelcatbehavior.com, submit this question. I answer every question and I can go into more detail for you. But those are the biggies to have your cat be happy and healthy indoors.
Okay, and then I'm sure a lot of people probably wonder about this one, but how do I introduce a new adult cat into a multiple cat household?
That's a very common question that I get. And actually on my website, I have a video about this, but I'm going to give you the bullet point version now. So whenever you bring a newcomer into the home, you always want to start that new cat off in his own room. I call it a sanctuary room. Territory is very important to a cat. Cats are extremely territorial creatures. So you don't want your resident cats to feel like their territory is up for grabs, because that's going to be very stressful. And also you don't want your newcomer to think he's being plopped into enemy lines, because that's going to be stressful too. So you want to bring the new cat directly home into the sanctuary room, close the door behind you, let the cat out, and we're going to keep the cats separate for a while. After the new cat has settled in a little bit, we are going to do something that I call scent swapping. Rub the cats with a sock around their mouth and neck, get those deposit glands all over the sock. Put the scents from your resident cats into the newcomer's room. Put the scents from the newcomer's cat socks to your resident cats, wherever they tend to hang out a lot. So just like it sounds, a scent swap. So the beauty of this is it gives your cat some control over the situation. Your resident cats can sniff and investigate the sock on their own time. It's not being forced on them. And same with your newcomer. Many times with cats, the best technique is to let them think that it's all their idea, kind of like my husband. So start off with some scent swapping, let them investigate on their own time. When everything's going okay, you know, they're using the litter box okay, no one seems to be stressed, then we can add in some soil swapping, exactly what it sounds like. Take a little bit of dirty litter box, like some pee or poop from the resident cat, put that in the newcomer's box, the other way around. keep doing that for a few days. Now, when this is going well, we can now do what I call separate roaming sessions. So take your resident cats and put them in any room in your home. Use any room except for the newcomer's sanctuary room. So have them safely away. Let the newcomer come out, investigate her new home without the other cats there to stress her out. The other cats aren't getting stressed out because they don't see her on their territory. But when the newcomer's out, she deposits her scents, and she also investigates the resident cat scents. And when she goes back in, again, now the resident cats can investigate and take in the scents in a more powerful way from the newcomer. And it's really going to be now more on the floor, more on the furniture, and so forth. When this is going well, now we can start slowly letting the cats see each other. So what I like to do is start off with just opening up the sanctuary room door a crack, like really a teeny tiny bit, so we don't get any attacks or escapees. Let them eat on either side of the door, with the door just open a crack. If that's going okay, we can gradually move the bowls closer and open the door wider. And as they get more and more used to each other, they become desensitized to each other, which is a fancy way of saying that as the cats see that there's no impending doom, there aren't any harmful consequences, nothing bad is going to happen with this other cat, they get used to each other. So move the bowls closer, open the door wider. When this is going okay, then I suggest, before letting them be together all the time, do what I call a baby gate phase. You can have 2 baby gates stacked on top of each other. So now they're always seeing and smelling each other, but there's still protection, and you can still have them eat closely on either side of the baby gate. When that's going okay, now we can start letting them be together a little bit, but you never want to go from 0 to 60 with cats. So let them be together for 10 minutes. When that's going okay, 20 minutes. When that's going okay, 30 minutes, and so forth. And make sure you keep that sanctuary room for the newcomer until you really feel like she doesn't need it anymore. Let her have her home base, until she's really integrated into the home. So this was the Cliff Note version of an introduction. So if you want more depth, it's in my book. If you want more depth, there's actually a video on this on my website. And I'm also happy to give you individualized instruction with your specific situation and your cat. So again, just go through my website, submit the question, remind me, because I'm old and I'm, poof, if I don't write it down, it's gone. And I will give you a program to follow to help you integrate your cats.
Okay, so there's a couple of feeding related questions. One is, my indoor cat nips at my legs when I'm feeding him. Why? And can I stop this behavior? And another one, younger cat since first day she was here attempts to cover her food and water by scratching at the floor around the bowls. This isn't a problem, but we're just curious about why.
Okay, so let's do the one that's nipping at the ankles as the cat is being fed. Okay, so here is a cat that needs to be played with using a fishing pole type toy. So if the cat's only stimulation and only replication of a hunt is to nip at your ankles as you're feeding him, that's what he's going to do. So this cat needs some interactive play with a fishing pole type toy in his life. Now, here's what I want you to do. When you're feeding the cat, I want you to err on the side of caution. I want you to preempt the behavior, and I want you to do something called the distraction and redirection method. So you already know once you go to feed this cat, he's going to bite your ankles. So when you know he's going to bite the ankles, I want you to distract your cat with a toy. Throw a crinkly mylar ball, something that makes a noise. Whip out the fishing pole type toy with something that makes a noise. Distract your cat away from your ankles, and we're going to redirect your cat to the toy. So when we do this, we shift your cat out of that anxious, kind of tense, not feeling great mode into the positive mode of a hunter. So when you do this, you're already making your cat feel better. And most cats would really prefer to go after the prey than to nip at your ankle. So we're going to shift the cat out of that anxious mode into the positive mode of a hunter. Now, conduct a quick little impromptu interactive play session in the way I've already described. Get out that fishing pole type toy. Let that cat have plenty of juicy captures. We're going to have a final capture followed by food, and then he can eat his meal. So we're now tying that meal into a positive experience with hunting that simulates what the cat might do outside. So distract your cat away from your ankles, do a little interactive play session, and then follow up by food. Cats are smart. The cat is going to quickly learn that the interactive play session is so much better than biting your ankles. When he plays appropriately and bites appropriately, he's getting fun playtime, he's getting affection, he's getting fun, he's getting treats, he's getting attention in a positive way. It's going to be much better than going after your ankles. So we really have to get that cat to learn how to sort of get that need in a more acceptable way. So nothing that cat is doing is abnormal. It may not be acceptable to you, but he's just trying to satisfy his natural cat hunting muscles. And that's something you can easily do. This is a very fixable problem. Okay, so now the cat that's burying the food in water or pretending to bury the food in water, many cats who are outside cats, or they still have that instinct, they are always thinking about opponents and invaders. And so if they cover their food, they cover their tracks from an enemy outside. So there are some domesticated cats that still sort of do that behavior. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just kind of some cats still, even though they're not outside, they don't need to be worried about invaders. As I said before, this can be real or imagined. So in that cat's mind, she's protecting herself and covering her tracks.
Okay, I'm gonna kind of group a couple litter box related ones. One is if our cats have been using a covered litter box for years, will it upset them if we remove it? And another is kind of less a question and more maybe what I'll just read it verbatim. I have 12 cats in a condo, 5 litter boxes. 2 cats have irritable bowel. 1 is pooping everywhere, sometimes outside box near doors. So maybe it's a question of logistics there. I don't know.
So if your cat, most cats don't like covered litter boxes. If your cat is using the box fine and you're not having any problems, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay, people come to me, the cat's not using the box. If it's a cover box, I tell them to toss the cover. But if your cat doesn't have that feeling, right, just like people, there's one in every crowd, don't worry about it, you're okay. The person who has 12 cats in the condo, so you might just have way too many cats for the amount of space that you have. There are recommendations for capacity for care and the amount of cat space the cats need. And one of those is that you should always have one more litter box than the amount of cats that you have. One of the surest ways to create litter box problems is too many cats trying to share too few litter boxes. So 5 boxes for 12 cats is just, as you're seeing, not going to work. You'd have to have, I think, many more litter boxes, probably on different levels, to solve those problems. That's probably a longer discussion, but typically, I'll tell people if you have 3 cats, have 4 litter boxes and have them in multiple rooms on multiple levels of the home. So if you have a small home and you have 12 cats and you have 5 boxes, you just don't have enough resources from the cat's perspective.
So again, I'm gonna group a couple about feral cats. So how should I acclimate a feral cat? We got it as a kitten, but it's still fearful of some people. And then another question about introducing a feral cat into our house a year ago. For the first 5 months, he remained totally isolated in our guest room except for visits from me. He's finally become integrated into our cat household, but why did it take so long?
So for the that is actually typical for a feral cat. I've taken in feral cats into my own home before, and it's the typical time is sort of like 1 to 2 years. So for many cats who aren't feral, it can be 3 to 6 months for that cat to really settle in. So you can imagine if the cat is really afraid of people, is kind of hardwired to be not completely trusting people. And also they have that stronger feeling of territory than a lot of completely domesticated cats. So oftentimes semi-feral cats or feral cats find a lot of territory very overwhelming. If you notice cats who are outdoors, they'll form colonies and they'll kind of stay close together. Cats do find a lot of territory overwhelming. So it's not unusual at all for it to take that long for a semi-feral cat or a feral cat to develop trust and to develop that sense of safety and security. But it sounds like the question asker did a wonderful job of being patient, taking her time. One thing that really helps with feral cats is to let the cat go at the cat's pace and to let the cat set the pace of the interactions. And the more you follow the cat's lead instead of the other way around, the better off things are going to be. The more the cat sees that you understand him, the better things are going to be. So it sounds like, to me, it sounds like everything went well, it went fine. And thank you for taking a cat into your home and working with him like that. I love you for that. Not everybody's willing to stick with those cats. So thank you for that. And then what was the first question? Sorry.
No, that's okay. It was about acclimating a feral cat. Got it as a kitten, but still fearful.
Oh, right. So kind of what I was just saying, the best thing, I know again, from a human perspective, we think, ooh, we don't want to be in a small room. But if you have a feral cat, the smaller the space you have, the better. So if you have a small room in your home where there's no hidey holes or there's not furniture that the cat can spend her day hiding underneath, that would be perfect. If there's a bed or a bureau in that room, put some storage containers or something underneath so the cat doesn't spend all of her day hiding. The best way to get a feral cat used to you is, again, to sort of follow the cat's lead. So say you're walking towards a feral cat and the cat goes to run and hide, or the cat hisses. Find that space where you can walk towards that cat and she'll accept you. There's going to be that line that you cross where she's going to back away and run off, or she's going to hiss. Find that spot that you can consistently walk to, and the cat will accept you there. It might be the doorway of the room. Whatever it is, use the cat's guide of what that starting spot is going to be. So what we're going to do is conduct sessions where you show the cat that you understand him. So walk towards that spot that he's going to accept you at, and don't go any closer. Just stand there for a few seconds and then back away. And do these sessions as often as you can. Go to the spot where the cat will accept you, stand there a little bit, and then back off. When that's going okay, now we can move an inch closer. So now we're going to slowly and incrementally, gradually move closer to the cat, but we're only going to get a little closer once the cat is accepting us consistently at that spot. So this is a great way to very gradually and incrementally get closer to a cat who's really terrified of you. And by doing it slowly, we can decrease that cat's fear, anxiety, and stress. So find that safe spot, only go to there, back away. After a few days of doing that, it might even be a few weeks. In these matters, it's always best to go at the cat's pace. But when the cat's okay, he's no longer showing signs he's going to run off, his ears aren't rolling back and down, he's not hissing, then we can go an inch closer and so forth. The other great thing for feral cats is going back to my favorite thing, the fishing pole type toy, because you can make your own toy that has a very large wand, and this will allow your feral cat to have a comfort zone. So you can play with the cat and let the cat get those captures and the treat after the captures and create all of these positive associations. And you're part of the game. So the cat is creating positive associations with a human being as well. So maybe you need to tape 2 yardsticks together, whatever it is that you can do the game with the cat and at the same time respect his comfort zone. And again, as I was saying before, if once you get that ability to play with him at a certain distance away, you can start moving your hand slowly down that wand and incrementally getting closer to the cat each session. So there's all sorts of ways you can sort of slowly get closer to that cat. The other great thing about a fishing pole type toy is it puts a safe distance between the cat's teeth and your flesh, which is always a good thing in case the cat gets a little overexcited. So those are the sort of the bullet point answers on those questions. And like I said, if you need more, drrachelcatbehavior.com.
Next one is, what are some long-term negative effects of keeping a cat conditioned to live in a dark basement?
Well, cats do need natural light, like all of us do. So one of the things that may happen is the cat may get depressed, the cat may not have enough stimulation, and the cat may not get used to that normal cycle of life. So our cats, a lot of the reason our cats bond with us and feel comfortable with us is they start to follow our rhythms. They mark the days by us marking the day. So the lights are on during the day, they're off at night, and it's kind of a natural rhythm, and cats will fall into that rhythm with us. So if they're living in a dark basement and they're not being exposed to sort of those natural rhythms, it can be hard for a cat to acclimate to, our daily life. The other thing is it might be a little depressing for a cat. A lot of times when I'm working with people and the cat has some type of behavior problem and we want to give the cat a time out, we want that cat to sort of calm down, I'll tell my clients to put the cat in a small bathroom, shut the lights, close the blinds, because the darkness is very calming. But if the cat's always in that state, it's not very stimulating and uplifting for the cat. So I know sometimes, living situations can't be helped, but if there's any way you can provide some type of even artificial light, in a dark basement, that would be preferable to just being in the dark all the time.
So these two are a little bit similar. One is, our cat is intimidated by people coming into our home. He smells them and may be aggressive and bite or scratch. He may rub against them, then bite them if they pet him. Relatedly, kind of cat aggression. I'm a professional cat sitter. I have a few territorial cats we care for who will attack the pet sitter. All the usual tips aren't working. She was adopted during the pandemic and only saw her family for the past year.
Yeah, so that's been a big problem with cats who were adopted during the pandemic and everybody was home all the time. So there are some cats who have never seen anybody else for their entire lives except for the owner. So some cats, that's all they know. And that's obviously very difficult. So this is what I would suggest for the pet sitter, as well as for the person whose cat doesn't like visitors too much. The best thing to do, again, is to slowly get your cat used to any new person or the pet sitter. So say you have, we're not gonna start off with all kinds of visitors coming into the house. And in the meantime, while we're doing this, you can always put your cat in a separate room when you have visitors. There's no reason, or there's no rule that your cat has to love all of your visitors and all of your friends. It's okay if she doesn't love everybody that you love. But if you do want your cat to feel more comfortable, choose one person who comes over often. And again, have that person come over and start off with just being in the same room with you and the cat. And the person can be very far away from the cat. And you might want to do things that are positive for the cat. Interactive play with a fishing pole type toy. Do things that create positive associations. Have one person just come over and be non-threatening. We don't want that person to be reaching for the cat, oh, come over here. Those are all things that a cat might find threatening. When I go over to somebody's house and they have a cat, the cats always come over to me. Now, it's not because they know I'm a certified cat behaviorist. It's because I sit there, I don't make direct eye contact with the cat. I sort of ignore the cat, and I let the cat come to me as opposed to reaching out towards the cat or walking towards the cat. So these are all behaviors that, if the cat doesn't know you, are going to come across as threatening. So have the friend, have the visitor come to your home, just sit there, be with you, be with the cat. Don't make any overtures towards the cat, so you come off as non-threatening, and then that person can leave. And gradually work up. Another great thing to do is to have the person hold the wand with you while you play with your cat. So your cat's, again, feeling successful, feeling confident, playing this game and getting all of these captures. And the visitor or the friend is there as part of the game. So this creates positive associations. You can even let the visitor hold the wand and you just stand next to the person. So these are all ways to get the cat used to somebody who she doesn't know. But you don't want to start off with the person coming to the house, being there for 4 hours, walking towards the cat, sticking out her hands to the cat, trying to pet the cat. Start much slower than that. Start off with the person just being in the room or in the vicinity of the cat and work up from there. Cats do best when they have the time to become familiar with something on their own schedule. So if we kind of flood the cat with all of this stimulation, it doesn't always work out so well. Same for the pet sitter. I mean, you don't want to, the first time that you're with the pet sitter, you don't want to be going away for 3 days. Start off with an overnight. Start off with a couple hours. Start off small and work your way up. If the cat is really attacking pet sitters, you might want to consider some calming chews or calming aids for the cat. And maybe it might be good to be with the pet sitter before you leave the cat alone with the pet sitter and see what's going on and see what the interactions are and see if you can help be there with your cat, do some play sessions, do some things together to let the cat see and understand that the pet sitter is okay. You can always, worst case scenario, the pet sitter can leave the food in the home. The pet sitter doesn't necessarily have to interact with the cat. So there are other things you can consider as well.
So I am keeping an eye on the time as well. How far over the hour are you comfortable going if we go over?
I'm okay with going a little bit over. That's fine. You can keep me posted. Yes.
Okay, that sounds good.
And if I don't get to everyone's questions, really, you can submit them through my website. I will get to them all. Just give me a little time, but I'll get to them all.
Okay, great. And I usually follow up, and I will for this one because we did the recording. So I'll link to your website and all that good stuff too. But so the next question, it's more of an observation, but our cat doesn't bite, but will touch our hands with her teeth if we are doing something she doesn't want done, petting her at times. It seems like she's using this to communicate.
Yes. So this is something called petting induced aggression. And this is, cat owners really have a difficult time with this because it's, it comes during a time when you would think you're feeling closeness, you're doing something enjoyable or pleasurable with your cat. So what petting induced aggression is that some cats just get to the point where it's too much. She's had enough. And the best way to handle petting induced aggression is to get a handle on how long your cat enjoys the petting before she gets to the point of the bite or just, you know, the little nip. So typically cats have a zone. So let's say your cat typically enjoys petting for 3 minutes before she goes to the bite. Then what I want you to do is to only pet her for 1 minute and stop. If your cat only enjoys petting for 1 minute, I want you to pet her for 20 seconds and stop. So doing it this way, you never get to that point of overstimulation. You always stay within your cat's happy zone. You always stay under that threshold. So you leave her in a contented state, maybe even wanting more, instead of getting to that point of overstimulation. You can even do it by the stroke. If your cat tolerates 5 strokes, consistently stop at 2. So the point is, get a handle on how long she enjoys the petting before she goes to the nip, because we don't want her to get to that point. Then she's not feeling good anymore. And once you get to that point and you're consistently avoiding that, you know, teeth on your skin, then you can gradually start elongating those sessions when you're petting her. You can start adding back in a little bit of time, a little bit at a time. But really what you want to do at the beginning is figure out where that threshold is and always stay below that. And this way your cat is always feeling happy. She's not getting to that point of anxiety or overstimulation, and she's always going to feel content after petting as opposed to being unhappy.
Okay, so this is another litter box question. Talk more about cats that won't use the cat box, but does her business right next to the box. We've tried different boxes and different litter for 8 years with no change. We have one other cat and tried 3 cat boxes, now use 2 boxes with puppy pads all around. The cat uses the pads, but has started going to the edge of the pad, so it still gets on the floor. I clean up after her at least twice a day, and now my other cat is using the pads instead of the litter box. She's 18 and it's never been a problem.
Yeah, litter box aversion is probably the most common question I get. And it's usually a lot of detective work, so I'm not going to solve this problem in the next 3 minutes. But here are the typical reasons cats don't use the box. The first is location. Does a cat have to go up a set of stairs? So sometimes cats just want convenience. So if they have to go on an indoor archaeological hike, go spelunking to get to their litter box, they might just resort to going wherever is convenient. But if she's going really close to the box, look at the location of the box. Do you have it up against a wall? So we know that there's a wall and there's nothing there. But to a cat, that wall, again, is preventing her from having those clear, clean sight lines that she wants for safety and security. So sometimes it's literally just a matter of pulling that litter box 10 to 12 inches from the wall. Is the box in a corner? This can be another problem. You know, that she wants to go to the box, but there's something about that location or that box that's making her want to avoid the box. They're very vulnerable. They're in a very vulnerable position when they're in those litter boxes. So if they don't feel safe, they're not going to venture into that box. So do a real estate reality check. You know, is that box right up against a wall? Is that box in a corner? Is the box underneath something? Is it under a desk, under a table, wedged behind a sink? These are all things that can cause a cat not to use the box. Is a box in the laundry room or near pipes? Sometimes the sounds like those laundry sounds or the water coming on, sometimes these can be scary to the cat. And if it happened when they're in the box, they won't go in the box again because they associate that box with the fear. And the other thing is you always want to rule out anything medical. If a cat has a UTI or a bladder issue or a kidney issue and there's any type of pain when they pee or poop, they will associate that pain with the box and then they won't go into the box again. And of course you do have that problem that if the other cat picks up on the scent of the pee, it sort of incentivizes the cat to freshen up the scent, which is something that you don't want. So I usually suggest using a product that specifically says on it enzymatic cleaner to fully break down those urine molecules, and then after follow it with spraying Feel Away or Comfort Zone spray. This is a synthetic version of a cat's own friendly pheromones, and it helps the cat feel more calm and relaxed around the box. But really take a good look at the box location. Type of litter, make sure you have a soft, sandy litter that replicates what the cat might find outside. You know, so a lot of cats won't use perfumey litters or litters that are too dusty. I always recommend Cat Attract litter. I've had the best luck with that litter. If your cats are older, make sure the boxes don't have high sides. Older cats, overweight cats, arthritic cats have a hard time climbing up and over those sides. So sometimes you might want to use a storage container as your litter box. You know, just toss the cover. You know those containers that are made to slide under beds? Toss the cover and you have a great litter box with low sides. Or even try using a litter pan. So it does sometimes take a little bit of detective work, and we can work on this more closely if we need to.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and read this kind of two-part question, and I think that'll be the last one. I want to be respectful of your time, and thank you. So it's another aggression-related one. We're wondering about our cat's aggression when he gets hungry. He bullies our other cat relentlessly and is uninterested in distractions of playing, etc. He'll meow and be mean and snippy until fed. How can we manage this behavior? And then kind of a second. I learned that slow winks are signs of affection to cats. Are there any other communication techniques we can use to tell our kitties we love them using their language? And they clarify, oh, I'm sorry, that's actually related to a different one. So that was the end of it.
Okay, so for the cat who has, it sounds like the food aggression cat. So there are little tricks that you can do to let the cat think that he's eating more than he really is. So one thing I love with these cats who go after the other cat's food is a product called Bonito Flakes. They are extremely low in calories, so you can give it to your cat as much as he wants. And they're also very high in nutrition. You can add a little water to the Bonito Flakes so it gets a little soupy. And this cat's going to feel like he's eating as much as he wants. So if he's always wants the other cat's food, give him all the Bonito Flakes that he wants. The other thing you can do is add some water to his wet food. This will make him feel more full than he really is, and this will help with that kind of bullying over food as well. Another idea is plain pumpkin puree. There's plain pumpkin puree specifically made for cats, and if you mix like a quarter to a half a teaspoon into the wet food, the pumpkin is very full of fiber, and we all know fiber makes you feel full. So this is another way to sort of get the cat to stop wanting to aggress over the other cat's food, is to put some plain pumpkin puree into the wet food. It's going to fill him up. There's water content, there's fiber, and it's just going to have that full feeling and not want to chase the other cat's food as much. You can also feed the cats in different areas or in different levels. If you have a cat tree, one cat can be on one level, one cat can be on the other level. And if the food aggressive cat is really constantly going after the other cat's food, you can use those Bonito Flakes to sort of entice him to that and get him that feeling of eating and the feeling of getting a treat, but it's really something very low in calories, so you don't have to worry about him getting overweight. The other thing is, if you want to go high tech, there are feeding stations that go with the cat's microchip. So the feeding station will only open for the right cat's chip. So that's something else that you can try if you're really having a major problem with that food aggression. So the cat who's being the food bully can't get the other cat's food because his microchip won't open up that cat's food. So the right cats are going to get the right food. If you've tried distraction and redirection, following it, with interactive play and the food after, and that's still not working, you can try some of these other techniques. But typically, I find when people distract and redirect or do play, they don't always end with that final capture and the food. So the cat doesn't tie that in, and the cat doesn't get put into his natural hunt, eat, contentment cycle. So it's really important to do all of the components of distraction and interactive play.
And then there was that second little bit about the communication techniques.
Oh, right.
Like,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
we'll kind of wrap up there.
Okay. Yeah. The slow blink, cats love that. You can look at the cat and you blink one eye, you can blink both eyes. You can even sort of look off to their ears. So you're even more non-threatening and do the slow blink. You can even meow back and forth with your cat. So cats' meows were developed for people. So cats don't meow to each other. Like one cat won't go up to another cat and say, "Hey, Fluffy, meow meow meow," and "Oh no, Puffy, meow meow meow." Like they don't communicate to each other with meows. But they communicate to us with meows. So if your cat meows to you, and you make a noise back, whether you simulate a meow or just make any type of noise, just go hello, that's a great way to communicate with your cat. They don't need to know what you're saying, but they will engage in a conversation. And what's really neat is that you can start to learn what type of meows mean what. So like you'll know that your cat's hungry meow, your cat's I want attention meow. So it's perfectly fine when a cat meows to sort of make a noise back. The other thing that you can do is when you're sitting next to your cat, they love it if you have something in your hands and your eyes on that item in your hands, because that's a symbol that you're being non-threatening. So if you want to just hang with your cat and have your iPhone or your laptop in your hands and be looking at that and answer your email or update your Facebook or call your Aunt Betty, whatever it is, that's a great way to sit next to your cat while communicating to your cat that you're non-threatening and you're okay with just sitting there interacting with the cat in kind of a non-threatening way.
Okay, great. Rachel, thank you. This was really great. At first I thought, oh, that's a lot of time for questions, but man, yeah, there's a lot of stuff to cover, huh?
Yeah, my experience is people come with a lot of cat behavior questions, and I find that these are just great opportunities to help people with their cat behavior problems, and there never seems to be any empty space whenever I do these programs.
And I'm just putting your website into the chat now in case everybody wants it, right away. Certainly, if you didn't get your question answered tonight, you can go on there right now. But thank you for being here and answering all of our questions, and thank you all for logging on. And I actually have one really quick one. It can just be like a simple yes or no. I heard a rumor that when you have two cats, because our Violet and everyone, if you have not met Violet and Matilda, you should do so shortly. I've heard that the cat that climbs higher is like the boss cat. Is this the case?
This is the case. This is multi-tiered cat trees are fantastic if you have a multi-cat household. The higher status cat will go to the top, and the more submissive, lower status cat will tend to go to the bottom. But here's the great thing about this multi-tiered cat tree, or any type of vertical space you can create in your home where there's opportunities to be high, middle, and low, is instead of your cats fighting with each other to figure out status, they can just use the vertical space to figure out status. You can actually create, you can reduce problems and posturing and intimidating and fighting between companion cats by having lots of opportunities for vertical space in your home.
Okay, thank you. And so in case anyone is wondering, that means that Matilda is in fact the boss cat. So
And it's not necessarily the biggest cat. It's just the cat who has the biggest tood.
Although I will say, she is not the food bully. Violet definitely is much more aggressive for food, but I don't know if there's a relationship there. But anyway, thank you. It's definitely a lot to think about.
Thank you, everybody. It was great to be here.
Okay, take care and have a good night.
Good night.